I am convinced Jake Gyllenhaal can put a number to how many times he blinked in this movie. I wanted to watch it in the middle of the night because at the time of recording this, I am a recovering Nightcrawler myself. Or is it Night O? Now, before I begin to geek about this movie, let's run through a brief recap. Skip to this time code to avoid spoilers. That opening theme, the corporate upbeat tune to it and the impact, the effects to wake you up like this isn't going to be straightforward. The film begins with the protagonist, Lou Bloom, attempting to steal from a rail yard. So he gets caught by a security guard but attacks him and steals his watch, some of the fence and manhole covers along with other materials so he can sell it at a scrapyard. Now seeing this, I develop empathy for the protagonist already. But at the same time, I know this guy is weird. I know he's not someone that I want to be friends with and neither would I want him anywhere near my loved ones. So I expect him, like other psychopathic characters, to be violent, rationally or not. But again and again, these character expectations will get thwarted, as we'll discuss later. Back to the scrapyard, Lou applies to the foreman for a job, but he gets denied for the obvious reason that he's a thief. On his way home, Lou stumbles upon a crime scene with stringers spraying on it. His interest piqued in what he's seeing, so Lou asks one of them for a job, but he gets turned down. But Lou, determined to work as a freelancer, steals a bike and pawns it off to get himself a camcorder and a police radio scanner. He gets to work and finally finds success when he recorded the aftermath of a fatal carjacking and sells the footage to KWLA6. While he's there, Nina, the director of the morning news, explains to Lou the type of crime stories that sell, those being violent crimes committed by a person of minority group, the victim most preferably being white. In order to become more efficient and start earning more, Lou hires a young homeless man, Rick, as his assistant. Now it's interesting and, to be honest, a bit inspiring how Lou presents his job like a full-fledged, official, successful top business. The fact that he even used we as if he already had a team. Now, I've been freelancing for a while now, and for a long time, I struggle with taking my work seriously. Whenever I get asked what I do, I don't even mention any of the jobs I do as a freelancer. I just mentioned that I'm a student. But here is Lou with all his guts saying he runs a business. That was inspiring. Anyways, Lou and Rick go on their first job, on which they were unsuccessful in getting the good stuff because Rick wasn't quick enough. But that same night, they are able to get another crime scene. Lou gives the footage to KWLA, and this is where he tells Nina his goals. After a montage showing them working more jobs, a montage that used a breaking news song, by the way, we see that Lou has gotten a new car. And now it gets to my favorite scene in this movie. That's just a bit weird to say, and you'll see why. With Rick, he heads to a crime scene where he shifts the victim's body to a position where he can get a clearer shot and just look at Lou's eyes. Hear the music in the background. I heard a film YouTuber say that the music in the background actually reflects Lou's state of mind, mindset about his current experience. And you know what? I agree, because why is that kind of music playing at that time? It's supposed to be ominous, but it's again inspirational and sort of corporate. Anyways, Lou brings the footage to Nina. This is when Nina sees the blood stain on Lou's shirt, and Lou just casually dismisses her question about it by asking Nina out on a date. Outside, Lou gets offered a job by Joe Loda, another stringer, but Lou refuses. And this is the first place where Lou gets as violent as telling Joe Loda off to stop pestering him. On their date, Lou tells Nina, in between creeping her out, that he wants them to have a long-term relationship. But as creeped out as Nina was, you can see that she's beginning to get this Lou guy. After arriving late at a plane crash and securing no footage, which Joe Loda got, Nina berates Lou, so he goes to tweak Joe's car. As a result, Joe Loda has an accident, which Lou unashamedly films. Later that night, Lou with Rick is the first to arrive at a robbery at a mansion while the crime was still going on. He didn't even bother to report the crime, but he got the faces and the vehicle number of the robbers. Lou gets very detailed and graphic footage of the victims. With the police arriving, Lou and Rick immediately leave that place. And this is my second favorite scene. Again, weird. But as they rush out of the mansion, Lou recites yet another corporate counsel to a worried Rick. What makes this funny is the way the music stops as they leave the place.
That's what I'm paying you to do. You need to show initiative. There is no better way to achieve job security than by making yourself an indispensable employee.
And this, I guess, is the one flaw in the entire movie. The fact that the police didn't even attempt to stop their car, a car that was actually speeding away from the crime scene. Like, how could they have seen that car and just not bother? Anyways, Lou brings the footage to Nina, where he demands a lot for this footage, as well as credits for his footage. Video news or video production news. It seems like they could not settle on a name. Lou gets a visit by two detectives for that robbery broadcast, and he gives them a copy, but in that copy, Lou actually excludes the face and vehicle numbers of the robbers, as well as the fact that one of the victims was actually alive. Lou actually did it so that he can continue the story. At this point, he feels like he's in charge of this crime story, and in fact, he is, because he plans to call the cops and film their arrests. So he and Rick go to trace the robbers, and they find them where they live or are lodged temporarily. Again, we are teased Lou harming Rick after Rick demands more pay, but Lou isn't interested in harming anyone, at least at this point. Upon finding a sweet public spot to film the arrest, Lou calls the cops. And again, Lou subtly but clearly threatens to hurt Rick as Rick grew more concerned about Lou's obsession with the work. And they begin filming what unsurprisingly becomes a violent shootout between the criminals and cops. The shootout progresses into a car chase and they follow, but the chase itself turns into a car crash. They continue filming, but Lou calls Rick over to get a shot of one of the robbers who he knew was still alive. Rick, while trying to film, gets shot by the robber, and Lou again unashamedly films it, including a dying Rick in the footage.
I can't jeopardize my company's success to retain an untrustworthy employee.
The guy I feel for in all this is Rick, seriously. The music that's playing in the background is that of the Heavenly Choir, again to reflect Lou's mindset about the current situation. And in the following scene, we see Lou smiling about going to submit the footage to Nina. Nina praises Lou for his hard work and dedication. Those two detectives who showed up to Lou's house show up to the news station and demand the footage. They arrest Lou, and upon interrogation, Lou lies about how he got the latest crime footage, saying that it was actually the criminals who tracked him down. Obviously, the detective doesn't believe him, but it seems Lou's story catches, so he actually got released in the end. And his walking step in this scene. Honestly, how did Gyllenhaal not even get an Oscar nomination? The film ends with Lou admonishing new employees to video production news before they go on their duty for the night. He has upgraded, obviously, with new vans and equipment. Look at him, he's even wearing a suit. First of all, like I said earlier, I suspect Gyllenhaal was actually selected for the role because he can enlarge his eyes that wide. I mean, Lou's eyes clearly tell you that he's a night-crawling psychopath. So when he gets offended, you expect him to do something like physically attack whoever was unfortunate to annoy him. But Lou would instead recite a corporate tip or just tell the person off without necessarily having to be cruel. At least by his own standards. Like, he's so focused and calculated on his goals that he knows acting out of anger or annoyance would lead to consequences that drift him farther away from that goal. What's this, his goal? It simply can be stated as, I love television news and I want to become the best or most important person in the industry. This vision of his is what his eyes communicate throughout the film. He can't even let his psychopathy get in the way. And this is the first time I've actually seen a nice psychopath, because Lou is actually slow to violence of any kind, unless of course violence is required to carry him closer to that his vision, like when he took Joloda's TV van. But again, I've never really come across a psychopath as nice as Lou. I think he's the nicest psychopathic character I've seen ever. But it made me disappointed in a kind of way, and I will explain. On Lou's first ever night as a stringer, in this scene where we see his competitor in a sort of POV shot from behind his head, I genuinely thought Lou would do something bad to him, but I believe this was deliberate from the director. The other stringer continues to walk away from the crime scene and towards his truck. As you can see, ideal for attacking him. Lou is following him from behind, unknown to the stringer, and this shot continues until he sees Lou. They tease it again at this scene and also in this scene. So only until you are at the latter part of the movie would you realize that, yeah, this was actually on purpose, and you wouldn't be able to help but just appreciate this approach to a psychopathic character. Another thing I like about this film and Lou's character is the presentation of his thoughts at the current moment or situation. And it starts with the score. Like at the start of the film, it begins inspirational, but then it turns dark. And my mood and expectations switched as quickly as the music changed. I think the idea was to use it as a hint for the kind of movie we are actually sat for. And also the nature of the protagonist. Someone who is formal, someone who believes in the most general corporate vision you've ever heard. Like if you went online or asked ChatGPT for how to run a business, treat employees and behave in the office, you see exactly what Lou spews to his colleagues, and the fact that he actually believes it and takes those tips, those guidelines seriously. Like when he runs with Rick away from the affluent family's house and recites a corporate guideline again. I really like the way the music paused to accentuate what he's saying, given the circumstances. Like, you are just being awkward at this very moment. Why will you be saying this kind of thing? Why will you be giving an advice at this very moment? Just showed how awkward it was. And speaking of funny moments, one that brought more than a chuckle out of me was in this scene where Lou is hiring Rick.
Sell yourself.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Well, I'm Rick, of course. I took 3 buses to get here. I finished high school. I need a job. I'll do pretty much anything. That's me. I Rick. So.
That scene was too brilliant, and you'll see, well, I noticed the similar trait between both of them is their desperation to get a job, but the difference is where that desperation is directed. Lou has this elaborate higher reason for a number of them, but Rick just wants money so that he can afford a better life. And Riz Ahmed did so well playing this role, because I could not tell a more desperate, gullible young man. But back to Lou's character, it's obvious that this guy follows cues on how to react emotionally. Like laughing just because Rick was laughing at the question.
Do you have a cell phone?
Lou did not find it funny until Rick laughed. Honestly, just a weird guy. You know what? I don't think Lou's desperation and passion for his job, regardless of how heartless that makes him look, is the problem. Because we see this with people in that line of work, paparazzi, press. Lou is not very different from these guys. And while there is a satirical point the film is trying to make about people in this line of work, it also was kind of inspiring, especially Lou's drive, his passion. You can see it radiate through his whole being, like in this scene.
Get back. Okay.
And this scene. But the hunger and the desperation to succeed, you can also see it in his eyes. And I agree with Nina.
I think Lou is inspiring all of us to reach a little higher.
Like, share, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video.